Many years ago, a widow came to me and said, I have a major problem on my hands. I own an apartment building and I can't stand collecting the rent. I can't stand it when somebody's late. I don't want to be in charge of sending someone to evict a, a mother and her children. I don't want to be the person that has to contact tenants because they can't afford to pay the rent. And in addition to that, there's 60 tenants. It's a headache. Got to collect 60 checks and I have to fill them up every time they go vacant. The same building that has 60 tenants, you can replace it with an industrial building that has 3 tenants. And the difference is, in an apartment building, every lease, few exceptions, come up every year. With an industrial building, they sign 3, 5, 7, and 10-year leases. You tuck it away. You tuck it away. And the great thing is, I don't know how this happened. Rent escalations have become standard, annual rent escalations. When I first got in the business, you'd sign a 5-year lease and the rent would be fixed. And then there were years of inflation and owners started to say, I can't keep the rent the same. What if inflation starts eating away at my dollars? So a few of the owners started to have escalations every year. And for some good reason, now everybody has escalations every year. It's standard. So you don't have to go to the tenant and ask them if they want to renew. They're in the lease. We call that sticky. They're sticky because they stick in the building. We have 8 buildings out of 18 where the tenants have been there longer than 12 years. We have 5 buildings where the tenants have been there longer than 15 years. They don't leave. It's hard to move out. And the rent goes up every year. So the people that invest in our kind of properties, if they are wealthy enough that they can own their own buildings and not be in a syndication with a group, they generally enjoy seeing the rent go up every year and not having any kind of problems with vacancies. In the worst case, a lot of buildings are occupied by tenants that were the company owned by the owner of the building, started the business, let's say in a building, grew, sold the business, and then the company that bought out the business leases the building back. Those are the best because they charge 30% more rent because the tenant doesn't want to leave the building. They know that that's where the business has been run for all the years that it's been there. And so time and time again, when the former owner of the business is the owner of the building, his family makes a killing. It's fantastic. But the good thing for us is we know a lot of those people, and when they're ready to sell with time left on the lease, we buy those leases, we buy the building at the market rate for the buildings, and we get an obscene amount of rent. And if we're lucky and the tenant stays, it's a winner. So those are very interesting scenarios. It's really steady income. You sign a lease, you don't have to worry about it. It's relatively low management. Very importantly, most of the building is a warehouse, and you don't have to do anything to it. So when a tenant leaves and a new tenant comes in, they can just move right in. Sometimes the old tenant leaves the racks in place and they just take their products out of the racks and the new tenant just puts his products in the racks. It's very, very easy to refill without spending a lot of money. That's a key element. With an apartment, you might have to put the carpet in, you might have to paint it, you might have to do something. We don't have to do much. We've had tenants move in, they don't even ask for carpet and paint, they do it themselves. Usually the percentage of office is somewhere between 10 and 20%. And it just fits. The next guy fits in, just moves right in, says, you, the employees, you go here to that office, you go to that office, and then they move in. The steadiness of the income is the other thing. It's usually, as I said, we have tenants 12, 15 years and the rent goes up every year. So it's just such a low maintenance, low aggravation business. And our returns are higher. We can make 7, 8, 9% returns depending on the kind of property it is. I think that the cap rates on apartments and on various other kinds of properties are down in the fives and sixes in a lot of places. So it's a 50% higher return in many cases.